our N.E.A.R show, where we explore and discuss various aspects of paranormal phenomena. I am your host, Keith Johnson, the co-founder of New England Anomalies Research. And I do have a return guest this evening. You were on a few years ago.
Yes, I was, Keith.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great to have you back again. Jesse Correa.
Folks, nice to be back on Rhode Island TV.
On Rhode Island TV, that's
always good. It's been a
always
while
good.
since I moved to Mass. And if you guys, I actually had the privilege of starting my television work, filming work, and even taking to what I've been able to do right here.
Right here. This is
Right
where it
here
all
with,
started.
With Keith. I started as a cameraman here and some sound work, and
You've come a long way since then.
thanks to a lot of people. I like to think I did a lot of it, but you got to give it the credit to all the people along the way that helped you. You, Joseph Burke, who was a guest here, and
Yes, yep, I remember
and
him.
got me involved in the filming projects, and just so many other people. Very blessed to have a lot of great inspirations and mentors
Right.
along the way, and I just try to do them pride.
Excellent, excellent. Very well said.
Thank you.
Now, you've been involved, continually involved, pretty much, with a labor of love down
Yes.
in Newport, Rhode Island, a location that is very historic, and I don't think it gets enough publicity, considering its historic content and how much it means to Rhode Island history. Of course, it was also known as the Bloody Reef, and it does have paranormal activity associated with it, which many people have experienced, and some people have literally run out of there. They couldn't stay there.
I've run out a few times.
Yeah, well.
Yes, it has. But it was really because the film I had made.
Yes, yep.
And actually, you featured. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. It's been featured
share it
on
with the community.
on this show, shared with the community.
The story about it and the stuff.
And you've been showing it around, lecturing, and it's
I have, yes. I've recently been able to get out and show it. In fact, I recently had a showing in Middletown, Rhode Island.
Yes.
Which was the dream I had when I started.
Yep.
To be at a film festival in Newport, and then the film wouldn't run for no reason.
Well, I'm familiar with that.
Got there
These
20
things will
years
happen.
later.
Yes, these things will happen, especially the subject matter, the content will affect it sometimes.
Yes.
Well, I've literally, Sandra and I have been asked to return to a studio and perform a blessing there because they're having so many problems after my first appearance on it. So
It's funny you put it that way. I think there is some kind of energy that follows with it.
Right. I mean, we're not Ed and Lorraine Warren, although we have been compared to Ed and Lorraine Warren many times. Even Jason Hawes has said that at times, but there are some significant differences.
A few.
Yes.
A few, but the modern day.
Right.
You know, and since you were a student, certainly.
I was a student of Ed and Lorraine Warren.
I certainly think you'd be very proud of everything you.
Well, thank you.
Sandra and your brother have done.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jesse.
You know?
And my brother Carl was very involved with this project as well.
Yes, he was. He actually went down and did an investigation with me one time, and he's prominently featured.
All right.
In the film.
Yes. Now there have certainly been some new developments.
Oh yeah, quite a few. Yeah.
And you've been documenting that, and
I have, yes.
And bringing it to the attention of the public, and you've even been interviewed on it.
Very
local
much
news.
so. Yeah, several times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's going on there now? What's the latest developments?
Everyone's aware of the unfortunate accident which occurred.
Yes.
Because we've all gone in there, I guess. I know I did, I admit. Knowing full well if anything happened or I was caught, I would be liable if they wanted to pursue it, since it was a sealed site.
Right.
But, I mean, they usually didn't bother the kids that went in there.
Right.
But this particular group of kids went up on the roof, and one of the stone, it's essentially a cement building.
Yes.
Solid cement. There's not a lot of wood. It's cement and metal. And it
I would not be crawling on the roof
built in 1906.
Myself, yeah.
And it's next to the ocean with salt water. And the ceiling is, someone was telling me today, 2-inch by 6 foot by 6 foot concrete slabs held by metal framework. So he somehow got up onto the roof and well, built in 1906. One of the metal things frameworks finally rotted enough that it gave way and he came through.
Too bad. I hope he's all right now.
I don't. That's something that's between them, and I guess it's going to be a case with that against the state, and that's something I kept myself out of. Mm-hmm. I certainly always sent my prayers out to their families.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
You know, and for what happened, it's a horrible accident. But if you investigate, sometimes these kind of spots where paranormal activity takes place, or they're really cool looking, but they're not in the best repair. Right. You do have to gauge where you can walk and where you can go.
Right, exactly.
Because you don't know.
Now, of course, this structure and the grounds itself, incredible history, dating back, of course, to the indigenous people there, many years, and even having some ties to Tutankhamun, the King Tut, that discovery as well.
Yes, well, that would be one of the individuals. I'll hold a photo here if I can.
And that's here in Rhode Island. It's got ties to Egypt,
if you
ancient
zoom
Egypt.
in on this. The gentleman in the right here was named Theodore Davis, and he was a prominent Egyptologist when he purchased the Reef at that time. That's what he became. He had been a banker and a lawyer and had made a lot of money. This is, in fact, a picture in one of the tombs in Egypt. And this is his mistress, Emma.
Okay.
So it gets a little twisted when you go to the stories.
Right.
But yeah, he had actually discovered over 23 tombs in Egypt.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
and
quite the explorer.
Yeah, he had total rights to the Valley of the Kings throughout the majority of the time they were digging it up. And he discovered N.E.A.R, Ankhatan.
Right.
Again, wish I was an Egyptologist. I know this stuff, but the pronunciation sometimes.
Yes.
He was the father of King Tut.
Okay.
And King Tut's mother was Cleopatra. And Ankhatan is very famous for being the pharaoh that they tried to erase.
Oh yes. He was changing too much. He was, monotheistic, and
he changed it to one god and not a bunch.
Exactly.
And he moved the capital from Memphis to Aton. So Aton was a god that they worshipped, and Atlanton or something.
Right.
It was a similar name, where the capital.
Where was he from? Where was he actually from?
Springfield, Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah, Springfield, yeah. And like I said, he had made his money through the banking at that time. A lot of, it's not that, you don't cause despair on people at that time because it was all pretty legal. There were no taxes on money in those days, so the rich just kept getting richer. They were taxed, and inside banking. And so he used the system very well to make his fortune.
Yes.
But he was obviously an outgoing and rugged individual who actually achieved what he ever wanted to, and with King Tut being the one he missed. Right. And that's he gave up on his contract in the Valley of the Kings after something like 10 or 20 years, and because he thought it had been dug out. Yes. And Carter, who had worked with him on several of his finds, was working on one last one, but he thought it was dug out. There was nothing left. And don't you know that was King Tut? And that's the tomb everybody remembers. Yes. Of all the tombs dug in the Valley of the Kings. Yes. Yeah.
I think that was the most fascinating find too. All the gold and mystery.
The gold and the history, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about Ankhatan that people don't get is they get a lot of strange theories on him. Like he had one of the people who had an abnormally shaped skull. Yeah. He actually had a larger cranium that doesn't really fit. It wasn't really human. It was human, but it was kind of odd shaped.
You think that's a result of head binding when he was an infant?
It could be head binding, and you get the people who want to call the alien or whatever they want to do. Get a lot of theories on why somebody would have that. Yes. He also had done the body binding, so to stay thin, because it was very big in Egypt to stay thin, I guess.
Uh-huh.
So he almost had a feminine shape to his body.
He was rather crippled too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Forensics, modern forensics,
Yeah.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, well, the feet, yeah, they did a lot of that. So
He had a clubfoot, I believe.
he was a very odd. I've never understood why I get King Tut getting the fascination.
Mhm. The boy king.
But the entire family with him and Cleopatra, and you got so much history right there on that.
Yeah.
That it's just an interesting family for that dynasty. And of course, after King Tut, that dynasty ended.
Right, exactly. So the ties to Rhode Island now, and what's going on there now?
Well, like I said, after the accident that occurred there, I became very aware that it was coming down. And
Now the structure was, of course, the big stables.
it was the stables, yeah. I can put up what it looks like when it was built. I'm sure you got some other pictures.
Yes.
On that you'll show. But this is when it was built. This will take a second to zoom in on because it's kind of small. So if you just hang on a second.
Beautiful structure when it was first built.
Yeah, this is from the book that was the bank put out when they were selling the property after the Davis abandoned, left, divorced, and he died.
Yes.
But this is from 1906. Now, the reason it's called the Bells, because if you can actually see the photo, there's a tower in the center, and it was a four-faced clock that would ring out the hours.
Oh, okay.
So there's actually a reason for the name.
Yes, the bells.
Yes.
Hear the bells.
This was also the anyone who worked there, their quarters. They had a kitchen, bedrooms. They had rooms up above the stables. For the horse, they could fit 6 horse carts. Were you able to get it? Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah, they were able to fit. So it's like 6 carts, a couple of dozen horses. In fact, I learned today from someone I hadn't, because you're always learning. This is the best part.
Now, was that the actual name of the building? They call it the Bells?
Yes, that's the Bells.
Reminds me of Edgar Allan Poe. The bells, bells, bells. Yes.
Yeah, it's not a mansion though, because if you read the articles in the paper, they keep calling it a mansion.
Right, and I think there's some
mansion-
confusion about that this was not actually
That wasn't the
living quarters
mansion,
for
no.
the
And that was built
family.
in 1906. They keep saying it's 1885.
Well, original structure is what they're probably referring to, right?
Yep, in 1885, the completion of the original stables, which were wooden, and they were struck by lightning, is what I'm told by the people down in Newport.
Right.
That have been told stories from their forefathers and such. And when it burnt down, all the horses died.
Oh, wow.
And so
yeah.
he had
Terrible,
his
terrible tragedy.
nephew, Terry Bowl, designed this to be a totally indestructible structure. And it's concrete
Yeah,
with
very
asbestos
sturdy, very sturdy.
infused into it.
Yeah,
Asbestos tiles on the roof, metal beams in the concrete itself besides the metal structure holding it up. And every door and window were made out of solid steel.
wow. Now, people have seen anomalies there, captured them on
yeah.
film.
It's very active. And I think it still will be,
Yeah.
the site, but yes, it's very active.
It still doesn't totally describe the actual experience of being there, that some
No.
people have felt this. Some people have actually felt they were being taken over, right?
I experienced that myself.
Yeah.
My uncle who's in the studio right now, lived through it with me. And I mean, I still have letters. There was a month that is very vague at best.
Yeah.
When this darkness encompassed me.
And even in your documentary, you mentioned that there is a time when you do have to step back when
You
you
do.
get so involved with something
do.
like this. You have to step back. It starts really taking over your life.
There's several forces there. That's the problem. I don't know. Some sites will have a single ghost, a single entity, a single. Whether it's a rabbit, it's just repeated because the time of the day or the night or the season,
Right.
or whether it's a intelligent source. At this
terrible,
table, you
tragic
have
history,
a lot of deaths and
Yes.
tragedies that happen there.
Anything from the poor animals there that were destroyed in that fire.
The Indians who and their encounters
smallpox,
with
pandemic,
smallpox and Vikings and anything else that first contact was. To, both families moved in and both families left. The only two families that ever lived there that are documented, both left broken. In fact, I was just told today by someone down there that I hope to talk more with, that upon learning of Davis's death when he died in Florida, the butler who was, they say, but they were still keeping in the house.
Yes.
Because he had gone there to try to come back from an illness, and he didn't make it, obviously. And upon learning of his death, in that structure, the butler went up to the second floor, which is where their quarters were, and shot himself and killed himself in it. I hadn't known that. And
any explanation why that happened?
No. I something I'm gonna have to dig into if I can. Talk to the person and see, but it's not overly surprising. But we would see when we were down there a lot, if the structure won't be there much longer, but in the front of the structure, if you have any photos of it, right above the doorway.
Yes. Yeah, right. That big doorway in the front of the structure. Yes.
And you would see a figure standing in that, a shadow figure standing there looking at you a lot. And one time I actually caught it on film.
Did you?
And it faded out of the picture.
That's in the documentary, correct?
Yeah, but they can't. Look, we caught it. It's great. We got the. And I'm watching it, and the figure actually faded out of the picture.
Wow.
So
they're only going to let you document what they want you to, you know.
That's unfortunately what this whole field comes down to.
Yes, exactly.
And but there was a satanic cult that worked out of there, Keith, which is where the.
You know, I'm not surprised, but.
Because it's an energy spot, and they were manipulating energy.
Yeah.
So I think when I did get possessed by whatever it was,
I'm glad it was transient. It did, you know, it was just temporary.
Oh, thankfully, yeah, about a month. But I lost like 4 friends during that time period, and apparently said some really wrong things. I don't know what they were. No one ever told me, and I don't really want to know. It's one of those things you do, and it's gone, and you're happy it happened.
Yes.
It's gone. But they, I believe it was what that cult is bringing out. You know, not the spirits that were there, not necessarily the butler, or there was a child of that actually lived down there with, and he actually shot like a maid.
Oh, wow.
And was, you know, it was considered an accident for some reason by the police.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you know, are you familiar? You know Johnny Zaffis, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, he's Ed Warren's blood nephew.
Yeah. Yes, I
do. He and Ed and Lorraine were working on a case with a family in Connecticut. It became a rather famous case. And he was so involved, they were staying there for like nights at a time, staying over. And that's when he became too involved, and he had an experience. He was the only one. Yes.
That's what happened, yeah. I do put the warning in the film at the end.
Yes.
On the paranormal end, you know. That
right, exactly, at the end, and I'm glad you do that.
Sometimes you can go there once and you can have a nice time, as I try to put.
Right.
And get spooked. Because you're going to get it's a surefire activity. You can't go there and not get something.
I have never been there at night after dark. My brother has. Carl has, of course, but I never been there.
And it's not just a stable, though. I mean, that would mean an active spot. It's the whole property.
Yes.
So you can go down there and you're going to get we've had ghost wolves circle me and my wife.
Yeah.
Where we could hear the feet on the leaves.
Yes.
And see the breath, but there was no animal there.
So it's good to do some cleansing protection beforehand.
You always do that.
Yes, right. Well, not everybody does, as we know.
Yeah.
You're telling about the cults that
no, you need
operate
to,
down there.
Whenever you go into any paranormal, as you know,
yes,
you need to ground yourself in what your faith is. I usually tell people to ground themselves in what you believe in. I believe God protects me, like many people do. But if whatever I try to tell them, well, if you're not Christian and you don't believe that, I don't care what you're believing in. you get yourself in touch with that.
Yes.
And you get it to ground you, to protect you.
Positive energy, exactly.
You know, if you're not comfortable with that, what we're doing, you do your thing, but ground yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And there have been people who are psychic, who are sensitive, go in there and they start absorbing this negative energy. You really, really have to be grounded, know how to ground yourself. If you're sensitive to, when they're exposed to that amount of energy, negative energy down there, and some people have really suffered for it.
Well, I'm going to have to call him Gary at this point.
Yes. Right.
Okay. He's going through some changes, but we'll call him Gary for this point because that's what it was at that time when we were filming. Mm-hmm. I did some work with him.
Yes.
And that's what happened with him.
Yes.
We were down there and we were getting
overwhelmed.
Some really great readings with knocking and, make the light blink.
Yes, right.
Touch it, and then we were getting great stuff, and something was speaking to us, me and his other helper, and he was in the other room, and he's screaming and yelling and going nuts, and we were just totally disruptive because it's a one empty building. It's like a warehouse in there.
Right, and if you're at all suggestible too,
And then he started throwing chunks of concrete from the ground towards things, and it was like, you and get away from me, don't touch me. And it's like, I just told him, get out of here, please.
It's time to go
it's
home.
It's time for you to leave.
Right.
How about you? I said, no, we're doing fine.
Right.
But you need to leave.
Yes, yes.
Right now.
Very understandable.
And let us continue what we're doing, because this is too much for you. Mm-hmm. Something's getting to you.
Exactly.
And he saw a black figure that kept coming closer. And
yeah, that's bad news. Whether it's real or imagined, that's really a negative thing.
Yeah, so he was, as you said, overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And I've had people that do get overwhelmed. In fact, most of the people I went down with once never went back again.
Not surprised. Not surprised, because there's a beautiful tree there. That
yes,
tree there, the historic tree, and I'm so glad that hasn't come down.
Yes,
or is it?
No, I actually was part of that, and I'm not doing it just because I was.
Yeah.
My research with that tree, because people are drawn to it. Women, children.
Yes.
Guys a little bit. They like it, but women and children have to sit on it. Mm-hmm. And they just can't go over to it. They need to go sit on it.
Right.
And get close to it. And you start noticing that after a while. And there's a very strange essence to the tree.
I wonder how old that tree is. That's pretty old.
That tree is actually a Indian mocking tree.
Wow.
The Narragansett medicine woman who has passed a while ago. And when I was working on the research, had told me that was a tree to mark that as a sacred spot to Native Americans. So they misshape the branches so that it's like a street sign for the
Native. So that was intentional.
Yeah, it's a street sign for Native Americans because they didn't have stop signs or road signs. Sometimes they would just branches all pointing in one direction.
It's been my dream for a while to do a whole episode, go down there and do a whole episode of Ghost N.E.A.R in the daytime. But,
yeah, well, it's beautiful anytime. You can pick things up. I mean, today I was down there. What I've been doing since the accident, because the last time I actually did a filming down there, we were getting some good stuff. I mean, I was starting to get into the slave trade, actually, last time I was down there. Mm-hmm.
History of that, yeah.
How there was a family there that was somehow involved in trying to abolish it at some point. And I haven't dug up a lot on it, but I was starting to get the signs and the readings on that.
Right.
So it was constantly opening up a new historic door because the site has so much activity that it opens up these new doors all the time. So you can study it forever, and there's still another facet that's going to open up. Mm-hmm. And the coyotes showed up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was 3 or 4 coyotes hunting.
Wow.
And
that can be unnerving.
About 3 o'clock in the morning.
I say that from personal experience, yeah.
I know I got everyone to get their stuff together, out to the car, through the open field, because there's a path that's quicker. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, open field, I want to see what's coming. Wow. We're going across the field. And my car was covered with prints on all the windows.
Oh, my goodness.
And at that point, I didn't really go down at night again, because as much as I don't mind ghosts and dealing with Well, any unearthly entity that's down there that they might be bringing out, because I can ground myself and focus. I can since it took hold of me once, we've come to some kind of understanding, I guess.
Yes.
Where I'm not threatening it, so it kind of doesn't bother me as much as the other people. So I was able to go down there and do that.
Yeah.
But then there's, coyotes, and that's like, well, no, I can't ground myself against a
Wild
coyote.
animals, yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole different subject matter.
Now there's the tower there, the famous tower, which
In the back, the observation tower, they call it.
They call it the observation tower, and which it is pretty much now, essentially an observation.
It is.
People look, but originally it was a windmill, correct?
It was a windmill, correct. When the original stables burned and he built the bells, he built that. It's a stone windmill, and it was, when I used to go as a kid, it was much taller, but there was no blade or anything left. It was jagged edges up on top. But the stone,
sounds dangerous.
If you look, you'll see the stone rocks that come out of the side, right?
Yes.
That went from the base to the top. And that was basically for fixing the sail part of the windmill.
Right.
If it would break, they would have to replace it or tighten it.
Yeah.
And those stairs were how they would get access to them. And they did is they had water on the top of it and a pumping mechanism on the bottom. And this way, if another fire started there on his property, what he would do is the windmill's turning. It would supply the pressure to run the water through the hose to put out the fires.
Right.
Because there was no other access for fire there, and he didn't want to lose anything again as he had before. So it was, but one day, hopefully, they mark these things. That's another thing I've been talking with the state of Rhode Island for on it. I mean, we have Rocky Point.
Yeah.
Accurately marked where all the rides were.
Some similarities.
But they got the rock where the rides are marked.
Yeah.
And you go down there's not a mention of Davis or Budlong, the second family that lived there. There's not a mention of Native Americans been there.
Well, I think there should be. I think the history should all be displayed there, similar to the way Rocky Point is now.
I mean, it doesn't have to be big, just something.
Yeah. Well, we're just about winding down out of time. Believe it or not, it goes so fast when you're talking about a fascinating topic like this. But hope you come back again, because you're doing more and more documenting of this.
I am.
And doing more lecturing, getting the word out. And I think that's very, very important, Jesse, to get the word out about this location, its history, its value, and what it means to people of today.
So all of Rhode Island history is very important.
Yes.
Where Rhode Island is.
Yeah, exactly.
I might be a mess now, but I'm still Rhode Islander at heart.
Yes, right. Well,
and it doesn't matter what it is. Our history is part of us. You might come somewhere and move here.
Yep.
But you want to know what the history of your state was.
Roger Williams was kicked out of Massachusetts and founded Rhode Island. Well, Jesse, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming here, and give you a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Great, and I really admire what you're doing, and I hope to be able to assist you more on it. And
we're hoping to get you on a show I got.
Good.
As a guest.
Well, we'll look forward to that. We'll look forward to that. So that's what's doing your documentary and your ongoing lectures, and we'll have you back again, definitely.
Thank you. I would love to. It's always great to be back home again.
All right.
And this studio is where it all started. So.
All right. Well, goodbye, friends. Good night, and God bless.